Hi everyone, welcome to another Hatton's live stream, and today we're doing another SkillsCast. So I'll be showing you some of the basic skills that you can do in model railways that may have scared you a little bit in the past. You may not think you can do, but I'll show you some of the basics and just how easy it is to get started in doing some modeling. Today we are looking at some of the basics of digital fitting your locomotives. With more and more models coming through digital ready now, it's a great time to look at digital operation as a control system on your layout. And whilst a lot of the locomotives do look quite tricky to fit, I'll show you with some examples that I've got here that it really isn't that hard to do if you've got a couple of simple tools, some patience, and some of the decoders to hand too. So all I've got tools wise here today is a set of screwdrivers. I've got one of each type there, a good crosshead and a good flathead too. I've got a range of our Hatton's decoders, which I've put a link for in the description, should you need a decoder for your locomotive. And I've got a few different double O gauge models here too that are ready to be fitted. But this skill does apply to a lot of N gauge models that are digital ready, and also some of the smaller O gauge models too. So Kelly, I think this video is for you, really, where you might not be confident enough now, but hopefully by the end of the video, we may have tempted you and shown you just how easy it is to look at doing some digital fitting. Now, the best place to start is to make absolutely certain that you're getting the right decoder for your locomotive. Now, a good place to look first is the actual box of the item or the item listing on our website. You'll see here with the Hatton's P-Class, we've indicated that it is a 6-pin digital ready model on the label. And you'll find now that most models coming through into the market do have that on the packaging. But a great place to find that information as well is the hattons.co.uk website. So on the product listings, you will see the digital status, what different socket it has, and also our recommended decoder, and you'll be able to pick that up from us. So with the locomotives in the UK, there's 3 main types of decoder socket that are commonly used. There are a couple more than that that are coming through, but those that we'll be looking at today are the 8-pin socket, the 6-pin socket, and the 21-pin socket. Again, if you're not quite sure which one you need, do check your instructions for your locomotive, check the packaging for your locomotive, and if you can't find it there, check the listing on our website and have a look there too. So I'll just show you the insides of a Helgen Class 33 locomotive that I had ready to show you. And this is the circuit board. So all I've done here is remove the body, and you can see what's called the blanking plate. Now, this completes the circuit on a DCC ready locomotive, so it can be used on a standard analog layout without any issues. Before getting it onto a digital layout, we will need to fit a decoder to this locomotive, so we'll do that now. First of all, we carefully prise away the blanking plate. You can do this with a screwdriver, any delicate tools that you have, maybe a pair of tweezers or a set of pliers. We're just making sure that none of the pins on the blanking plate are bent, so we can use it again in the future should we wish to convert our locomotive back to analog. We'll get ourselves a decoder out of the packet. We'll go for the 8-pin direct decoder, which is just a straight plug and just replaces that blanking plate in the socket. So we'll take that out of its packet, and I'll bring that over, and you'll see there the 8 pins on the decoder match the 8 pins on the blanking plate. Now, to get your loco to run in the right direction, you'll find that just on the front of the decoder, there is a little number 1, and that needs to go towards the front of the locomotive. So on a steam engine, that will be the chimney end, but on a diesel end, it's usually marked on the circuit board, which it is there. And all we do then is just carefully put in the decoder into the socket, making sure the additional accessory wire there does not come tangled. That's an optional extra wire. If you wanted to put some more lights into your locomotive, you can fit that down there out of the way. And there we go. We've already done our first DCC fitting, and we're only 5 minutes into the video. So we've really got started there already, and that shows you just how simple some of these can be with the straight plug and play decoder going straight into the 8-pin socket. So one of the most important parts about doing a digital fitting is safely removing the locomotive body too. And as always, read the instructions. Always have a good look at the instructions before doing any detailing, any digital fitting, because as is the case here with our P-Class instructions, you will see that there is a full guide in how to fit a digital decoder in there, which we will be following now. Now, when you're removing the body, I would always recommend having something useful to do it on. I have got a little bit of foam here, but you can use the locomotive's packaging as well. You can use, if you've got one of the locomotive cradles that are out there. So we'll just get this one very quickly fitted up. This locomotive has a 6-pin socket, so you'll see some of the differences. Now, the instructions told me to take out these screws at both ends of the loco. I've already done that at the front before we came on air, and we'll just quickly take those out at the back. Just making sure that we don't lose these screws either for when we want to put the body back on the locomotive. Again, this is detailed in pretty much all of the instruction manuals that come with locomotives now. We'll just carefully raise that chassis away, and we'll put the body to one side for now. And you will see, if I turn that round, we have a 6-pin blanking plate. So that was serving the same purpose as our 8-pin blanking plate that we had there before. This completes the circuit for a locomotive running on an analog layout, but all we have to do today is pull this away, and that then reveals the digital socket here. I'll just get myself a 6-pin decoder from my collection. And again, if you're not quite sure which decoder to put into your locomotive, do have a look on our website for some listings there. So I've got our decoder. You'll see it's exactly the same setup in how the pins work as the blanking plate. So there's no changes over needed at all there. And Roland, I will answer your question as it's a very good one. It can occasionally be a little bit of a problem, yes, as it is with fitting any electrical components to any items. So just make sure you have cleaned your work area, make sure you've not got anything electrical running around it, such as a digital controller or the rest of your layout. It's not really many issues out there, but it's always something that's best avoided. So really good question, and I hope that answers it for you. Okay, we shall go back to our fitting, and all we need to do is again just identify the socket there where you can see the number 1. So that just makes sure the locomotive goes in the right direction. Push that in. And now we've done another digital fitting. We're going through these absolutely quickly today. We're 9 minutes in and we've already done 2 digital fittings. So that is a 6-pin loco that's now fully digital. That will work on a digital layout, and that is ready to go. One question we do get regularly is what to do when you put them on your layout. Now, all our decoders come with a default address of number 3. So if you already have a locomotive that's a number 3 or you want to change the address, you can do that. It's slightly different between each controller, but that can happen at the stage when you fitted the decoder to the loco. So then you can really start individualizing it there. So we've done our 8-pin. We've done our 6-pin. I'll just put those blanking plates to one side. Let's have a look at something a little bigger. Let's have a look at the Depo Weston we've got here. And this is a 21-pin socket. So slightly different attachment to the others, where the pins for these are on the chips and the blanking plates themselves. This is different in that the pins will actually be on the locomotive, as you see in 1 second. I'll just open this up for you. I have had a good read through the instructions before I started this. As ever, I would always recommend that. And it's told me to remove the 4 screws at each corner of the locomotive. So already you can see there's some standard skills that you need here, as long as you have a steady hand and the ability to take a couple of screws out of a locomotive. It really is that simple, certainly on a lot of digital ready locomotives that are now coming out into the market. So we've loosened off those screws. And just do the two at the other end, and then we will get a look inside. Just do that last one, and then we should be able to open up this locomotive. So we'll see those 4 screws out, and then gently you prise the body away from the chassis. You just hear it disengaging there. And there we are. One important thing to keep an eye out on is if there are any extra connections, as you see here. This is the connection for the lighting board inside the locomotive. This can stay in when you're doing a digital fitting. There's no need to remove this, but just bear it in mind when you are putting the body of the locomotive to one side. So we now have our final type of decoder socket that we are looking at today. We've got the 21 pin socket. Now, there's a lot of different types we've covered here. The 3 main types we've covered today used in UK model railways. The 21 pin socket allows for more connections, for more lights, different modes of operation in the locomotive. So if you have an engine that has a lot more light fittings, such as the Depo Weston, or indeed our own Hatton's Originals Class 66, you're more than likely to find that it will have a 21 pin decoder socket in it to allow a lot more of those lighting functions to operate. But it's still really easy to take apart and put together. It's very easy to also slot in the decoder too, so we'll do that now. All we need to do, just as we did with the blanking plates before, is gently prise that away from the pins. And you will see, as I mentioned before, that the pins are located on the loco this time, rather than the actual decoder. One golden rule from me there is to make sure that these pins do not get bent. You can bend them back in, but it can be a little tricky. So if you can avoid it, do make sure that you are not bending those pins in and out of place. So if we're ready now, we've got our 21 pin decoder. You will find on these, as a matter of course, the black strip always faces up, and you will just about see on the socket there that there is a missing pin. So you've got 10 sets of 2 and then 1 on its own, and that ensures you fit the decoder in the correct way. If you look on the bottom of the decoder there, you will see that there is a corresponding hole where it's just a hole on its own. So we know exactly the way that our decoder will go on. If it is going on the wrong way, don't try and force it. Just gently press down initially to make sure it feels right. Always have a look at the holes as well to see if the pins are starting to come through. And when you're confident that you've got it in the right direction, just press it down firmly until you can see that both the sets of pins are coming through. And now we've done a 21 pin fitting as well. Put the body back on there, make sure that clips back on. And there we have it. It really was as easy as that. We've now fitted 3 locomotives in under 15 minutes there. We've done our 8 pin on the Heldren Class 33 chassis. We've also fitted a 6 pin decoder to our locomotive there, the Hatton's Original P Class. And of course, the Depo Weston diesel locomotive now has a 21 pin decoder inside it. And those skills are the same if you want to do it in reverse too. If you want to change your locomotive back to standard analog operation, all you need to do is open your locomotive up, safely remove the decoder. Again, just gently working it away, revealing the socket there, and then just finding your blanking plate. The locomotive will not run without a blanking plate or a digital decoder in it, so make sure you put that back in. Make sure the pins are lined up. Just make sure that goes in there as it should. And there we go. That locomotive is now ready to run back on an analog layout. And the final question we do get asked quite a lot of too is, can you run a digital fitted loco on an analog layout? Say you have a friend who has a digital locomotive and they want to let you borrow it or put it on your layout for a while, or you have both a digital and an analog layout and you want locomotives that can run on both. With most decoders, that is absolutely fine. Our own decoders do support analog running on there, so do check the make of your decoder. If it's a sound locomotive, you might not get the full range of functions from your sound decoder as you would on a digital layout, but it still should work okay on an analog layout. The only exception to that is if you are using an older analog controller or you are using an electronic, almost get my words out there, an electronic track cleaning system, because that will potentially fry the decoder inside the locomotive and cause quite a bit of damage, unfortunately. But otherwise, if you are running a digital fitted locomotive on an analog layout, that's not an issue at all. And just one last time there, I'll do it in a bit of a quicker fashion for you again, just to show you how easy it is to change a locomotive from analog with the blanking plate to digital. There you go. What did that take me? 10 seconds, maybe a little more, maybe a couple more seconds than that. Of course, there's time involved there to take the body off too, but it really is as easy as just taking out the blanking plate and making sure the decoder's fitted securely and the right way around too. As ever, all the instructions on doing that are included with most locomotives out there. If you're not quite sure which decoder to go for or which is the ideal one for your locomotive, check out hattons.co.uk because we have got full information on there. But hopefully we had Kelly at the start of the chat mention that she wasn't feeling too confident on fitting up digital locomotives. And now we've done quite a few in the last 15 minutes here. Some of the different designs, we've also opened up some of the locomotives we have to hand to show you the different connections. So it really is that simple. I wish I could make it look a little bit harder, but to be honest, with the standard basics of getting a locomotive ready for a digital setup, do take a look at fitting some of your locomotives. The full instructions in the manual, as we mentioned before, on how to open up those items. We've opened up some live on the stream too. We've opened up our P-class there and just took the screws out of that. And as Roland mentions there, a lot more of the modern models coming through are fitted with better digital capacity now as well. They're making them easy and easier to get inside with so many locos coming through and so many people expecting to fit them with digital decoders. It's only getting easier now to fit a digital decoder into your locomotive. Some of them, such as the Depo Class 08 in O gauge, have liftable roofs, so you don't even need to unscrew anything. It's just a case of clipping off the roof and then changing the 21-pin socket inside. So do take a look. Hopefully I've inspired you a little bit more to take some further information away and show you that digital fitting really isn't that hard on a lot of models. As long as you follow the instructions, as long as you know the ideal decoder that you do need to put in your locomotive, do take a look at the Hattons range of decoders because we have them for pretty much every type of model that we sell as well, so we can recommend them to you. We also have the listings on our website, so if you're not quite sure what is the best decoder for you there, have a look and we recommend a decoder for the different types of locomotive that we sell. So get your tools ready. Maybe a little project for you this evening if you are thinking about going digital and you can now get started. Have a look at the instructions in the manual, get some decoders, get your screwdrivers ready and get fitting your locomotives. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do need a couple more skills or you need some extra questions answering, do put them in the comments in the chat. Get in touch with our customer experience team who are more than happy to help you when they can. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page for more videos like this. We'll be covering model overviews, locomotive profiles, more skills sessions like this as well. If there's anything that you're feeling a bit confused about, or you've always thought about giving a go, but you're not quite sure and you'd like to see it in one of these sessions, please do let us know, and we can certainly consider it for a future go. Otherwise, hopefully you'll be doing some DCC fitting. Do keep me posted on what you have fitted up, and I'll see you next time. Take care.